And welcome to another Thursday Thrive Tribe. As you can see, it is not just me. I'm not the only redhead here. I have Adam Bigelow, the man, the beard, the legend from the PTSD Foundation of America. Thank you for joining us, Adam. How are you today?
Good. Thank you for having me. It's awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you for doing.
Awesome. So, as members of the tribe know, we are all about veteran empowerment and being better together. So that's why we have a fellow nonprofit that works with veterans and empowering veterans to heal and heal in a specific way. But before we get into what the PTSD Foundation of America does, Adam, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Well, I am an Army combat veteran. I served from 2007 until 2017. My first tour was to Iraq and to Baghdad. My second tour was to Iraq, but northern Iraq, which is Kirkuk. In there is when I called my first medevac, and I saw a flight medic get off the bird looking like Darth Vader, and I'm also a combat medic, so I was like, well, I want to do that. So I reenlisted and went to flight school, became a flight medic. Did a little over 2 years at the National Training Center, doing live medevac, not just on training, but also everywhere from the freeways from San B, California, up to Vegas. So I saw a plethora of different injuries, and then I was put and stationed to Fort Bliss, where I, within a month, deployed to my third and final deployment to Afghanistan. Um, we were deployed to northern Afghanistan, but southern Afghanistan in the Helmand province was hurting for medevac. So they sent a group of us, 2 aircraft, 8 of us down to Helmand, where I was stationed at Camp Dwyer. And yeah, finished my third deployment there. Uh, and that's the beginning of, like I would I say, is all my struggles and things like that.
Yeah.
I did quickly get. It's kind of where I started having issues with my third deployment, um, with nightmares and just disconnecting from emotion. Even guys I was working on in my aircraft, I just had felt no emotion, like emotions whatsoever, if they lived and died. So I knew I needed help, and went back from that deployment. That's when I got diagnosed with severe PTSD. Um, and then yeah, I was getting med boarded from the military for that. Just trying to get help and more help, and nothing seemed to be working. So I actually got involved with the PTSD Foundation of America and started joining the warrior groups. And I was in Washington, did warrior groups for about 15 months, and it just completely changed my life. Um, then I came back to Arizona, um, and that's where I'm at now.
Okay. That's a Thank you so much for sharing that. It's
Yeah,
pretty
absolutely.
powerful. So I had forgotten that you were a combat medic. I forgot that. So next time we have a big event, I'm definitely going to have you come out. That's
Absolutely.
super important. So who do we hear in the background? How many kids do you
Yeah,
have?
you hear my wife and you hear my 3 boys. I have four kids. My three
Yeah,
little boys, um, and I do have a daughter who is 19, about to be 20. You don't hear her, so
yeah,
but yeah, so 4 kids total. So they're doing dinner back there and things like that. So
right.
you may hear something.
So you have a tribe in and of yourself. So
Yeah.
because you had come back to Fort Bliss and was going through the med board, is that how you got into the foundation?
It's not. I went through multiple different types of different therapies while I was at Fort Bliss. While I was still in the army, your normal where they send you to behavior health and talk to a psychiatrist. Once they diagnosed me, they put me into a PTSD group, and a lot of different events were happening, and I wasn't really getting the help I needed. They actually put me into what I believe is one of the best therapy programs. It's an alternative therapy that they were trying in Fort Bliss. And it was only a month long. I wish it was a lot longer, but I went through individual therapy, group therapy, yoga, art therapy, acupuncture, Reiki, all types of alternative therapies, and it was just a blessing. A month was not long enough. I'll let you know that for sure. Um, and it wasn't until later I tried to commit suicide. My family actually came back to Arizona. I was still in Texas, and I attempted suicide, and that's luckily it didn't work.
Amen.
I say
Yep.
that my higher power uses the telephone for me. Um, I was squeezing the trigger while my phone all of a sudden rang, and it was a picture of my wife, and it took my finger off the trigger. So that's when we knew I needed more help. So that's when I got involved with the foundation. Um, so yeah, it was kind of amazing. Went through there, came back to Arizona, and from Washington through those groups, and then it was kind of weird. You know, I felt really good, but without the support that I'm used to, I slowly started going back to day zero. I was all over the place with different schools, different jobs, things like that. And then I was like, well, let's go to school and get my CDL and become a truck driver. You know, like I'll be by myself. And I did that for about 3 months, where then I found out that that's a big mistake. Is putting myself in a vehicle with just me and my thoughts. Um,
Yeah.
and I was actually on my way to California, and literally I was just praying when I was driving. I was like, you know, this isn't for me. Like I'm away from my kids. I'm not doing well. Like I know you have something better for me. And I kid you not when I say the Lord kind of speaks to me through my phone, because my phone rang, and it was my mentor from the foundation that was from Washington. And he's all, you got some time to talk. And I pulled over my semi into the next place, and we talked for 2 hours. And they just talked about the need in Arizona for a chapter here, and asked if I was available or willing or wanting. And I was like, absolutely, let's do this. I put my 2 weeks in right then and there with the company. Um, and then they brought me to Camp Hope to check it out in Texas. And then it's been ongoing since then. Been doing Arizona now for almost 2 years coming up. So
It's amazing, man. It's amazing how just those things in our life just happen when we need them to happen the most, you know? And
absolutely.
it's funny because, you know, veterans have so many organizations out there or people that they can rely on because they don't want to go here and they don't want to go there, or they want to heal a specific way. They want to heal through their faith, or they want to heal through
Yeah.
complementary medicine, you know? And I recently found out there's 40,000 nonprofits out there. Not to say that they're all veteran nonprofits, right? But there's different modalities and
A
different
ton.
organizations that can help us. So
Good
so
organizations and bad.
um, right, right. And just like there's good people and bad people, right? So
Absolutely.
tell us a little bit more about, because I've been to a warrior group, you know, you invited me and I thought it was super
Yeah.
powerful. The people were down to earth, the veterans. You run the chapter out here in Arizona, especially, you know, the opportunity that you can have and the camaraderie and the group mentality. And then also talk a little bit more about Camp Hope.
Absolutely. Yeah. So locally, what we do is we call what warrior groups for the combat veterans. And warrior groups are, it's all for combat veterans, but it's a safe place to really work on yourselves. We use a manual. I actually have it right here. It's called the Combat Trauma Healing Manual. And it's kind of based off of almost the AA book in a way. It's an 11-step program, and it just walks you through all of your trauma that you went through during combat. Um, and it's an extremely helpful book. Um, but that's just a little bit of it. It really is that camaraderie and that support, knowing that everybody in those groups understands where you're coming from, been there. Uh, and the one thing that's amazing about ours is we're not affiliated with any government agencies. We're not affiliated with the VA. And so our groups are 100% anonymous. We don't write anything down. We don't take notes. It's just a safe place that you can talk about anything and everything. Um, Everybody that's in our groups has some kind of struggles, either if it's um, alcohol, drugs, if it's anger, or if it's things that they've gone to been incarcerated. But it's a non-judgmental group where you can talk about all of it, and nobody's gonna judge you. And more than most likely, and I haven't found a person yet that hasn't been there. Everybody can
Right.
relate to each other, so it's really a safe place. I kind of put it down to it's like being deployed, right, with your platoon, and you're sitting around a fire or just sitting around smoke pit or whatever have you, and you guys are just talking because you're all form a family of brotherhood, and that's really what the groups are.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
what we also realized in Arizona, and one of the biggest things is for the families. A lot of organizations and therapies out there, including VA and different things like that, they truly don't work on the families either. So we started family groups out here as well. And my wife, who's back there, um, I couldn't think of anybody better to run family group support than someone who's been by my side and been through the very lows and the highs of my traumas, and can understand how it is living with somebody with combat PTSD. So she runs family groups out here, and we also do a lot of different things. We take veterans and their families. We actually just got back from a Fourth of July trip where we took veterans and their families to the woods, went camping, get away from the fireworks and the hustle and bustle of the city,
Yep.
and it was amazing. We had 25 veterans and families, kids and things like that came out for a few days, went fishing and archery and all types of things. And it's really about working also, like you said, with other organizations out here, like you guys, Valor's community. It's all about organizations that truly care about the veteran, um, and give back. It's not
Mhm.
about that paycheck at the end, because we all know there's organizations out there where CAOs are making six figures and
Yeah.
things like that. And I'm like, no, we live paycheck to paycheck like everybody else. And it's just a passion of ours to do it. And then, like you mentioned before, Camp Hope. Camp Hope is our residency program that is in Houston, Texas. It is one of the longest programs for combat veterans in the country.
Mhm.
It is a 6-month program where everybody there, the mentors, everybody there are combat veterans that have been diagnosed with PTSD, been to the lows, been to the highs, and now they work for the organization and they give back. I think there's only a few in the front office that aren't veterans, but they're either wives or family members of veterans, so it's a really close family. But they go through drug and alcohol counseling. We have NAAA on site, anger management, parenting classes. But the most beneficial thing to them, like we do here, is that peer support. They go
Yeah.
to peer one-on-one mentoring, coaching, go to peer groups, um, and then after 5 months, we have a transition phase. So companies actually come in and sit with the veterans and help write resumes and sit across the table and conduct job interviews.
Yep.
We have amazing donors who already there's a semi trailer full of suits and things like that. So when
Yeah.
they leave, they can get suits and go get jobs. But what the awesome thing is, so if I send somebody from Arizona to Camp Hope, now if they're coming back to Arizona, now they have that aftercare. So what they're used to and that camaraderie and the support they need is here. So now they can go from there and join us in our weekly groups and join us as a family and continue to grow. Because that is one thing people argue back and forth if PTSD can be healed. And I don't believe there's a heal like you can heal from it, right? But I don't think you can. It's part of us. You're not going to be cured of it. There's
Right.
ways to live with it and deal with it, but you cannot do it alone. You have to have support. And I'm a very what's the word here? I mean, it's happened to me. Like I said, when I was in
Yeah.
Washington, I was doing really well, and I came here without support, and 15 months just went kind of down the tubes within 4 months. I was back at
Hmm.
day zero. So,
Yeah, prime example.
um,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no,
So
I
that's
agree.
basically what we
And I
do.
think,
And
yeah, I think that's why this discussion is important. And Ro just popped on too, and he's next on the list to do this type of discussion, because
I gave
not
you a
only
call
is it
out, bro.
important when the vets come back from Camp Hope. Yeah. Not only is it important when they come back from Camp Hope to link up with you so that they're familiar with what you do, but then they have access to like Valors, right, on 8th, and they can. So we need to be educated in what you do, and so do all the other organizations, so that we have that contingency plan. We have that depth in support and that depth in service and that depth in helping that veteran to succeed and be empowered. So no plan survives the first attack, right? So we need some
Yeah,
sort of contingency, because what happens if they live up in Flagstaff? You're based down here, but I got empowerment ambassadors that live up in Flagstaff, and we can continue to move down the line and have that level of support for these guys and gals when they're in times of need.
yeah, absolutely. And it is like you said, it's working together. I mean, what we do is something that we excel in because it's something that we've been through, and when we help out, what you do is something that you excel in. People
Yeah.
like Roe, like what he does, he excels in that. And so those organizations that say that they can do it all, it's hard to believe that, where it's like, why do that when you can have all these different organizations like ours, like yours, who can just work together and be like, and I know
Oh,
this,
yeah.
we call each other when you have somebody that's hurting, or, you call me, and we vice versa. Um, I know we're all on Facebook and different veteran organizations, and we put each other's name in if someone's typing something and we're like, hey, this isn't my wheelhouse, but I'll put, oh, Row or Cass, like, here you go, like, check this out. And it really is, it's about working together for the benefit of the veterans and their families.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we move on, I keep looking at your fall in, don't fall out, because at Operation Shockwave,
Yeah.
we like to say check in before you check out. I like how yours is, fall out. That's like a military parade kind of
Yeah.
saying. So, did you come up with that, or is that the foundations, or?
This is the foundations, and I'll pull one off. This is one in my house. So this is what we call it, because we also, I mean, I know there's a lot of different crisis lines and stuff out there. Um, but our crisis line, this is like our pull tab flyer. So fall in, don't fall out. And it has a bunch of our numbers on it. And because our crisis line's a little bit different. I don't know if you've noticed this before too, but um, a lot of veterans have issues calling like the veteran line
Oh
and
yeah,
things like that, because things get recorded and their doctors will know that they called and things like that. Where our line is 100% anonymous. Um, 24 hours a day, there's a combat veteran on the other line. So when you call, we call it the bat phone. It goes to Houston, and you'll have a combat vet answer the phone and talk to you. If the great thing about that is, if someone from Arizona calls that line, you're going to be talking to someone there, and basically the only place it goes is to me, because I'm in Arizona. So if it's okay with the person on the line, they're like, hey, this person's in Phoenix, Flagstaff, Tucson, wherever, and they're looking for help. So I'll get the number, and then I'll be able to call and coordinate either going to see him in person or whatever we need to do to get help. And we have an amazing team out here and amazing parts of veterans. We've had veterans that we've gotten a call from a cousin or a brother and says, hey, my
yeah,
cousin's also a combat vet and he's in this part of town, and we know the kind of areas that are not so great areas. And, I reach out to our group members and say, hey, we have a brother. You guys don't know him, but he's hurting and he's in a meth house in South Phoenix.
awesome.
And, he needs help. So tons of hands will raise up. And, one of our last ones, there were 6 of us that went to this apartment house, this riddled with meth use and things like that. And we talked to him, and talked him into going to Camp Hope, got him on a plane. And, he graduated 6 months later. He's doing amazing. He thanks us all the time. And, he moved to San Antonio to be with his family and stuff like that. And he's been clean now for 8 months, and just doing really well. So,
Yeah.
it takes a collaborate of everybody to be able to do those
Oh, yeah.
things.
Oh, yeah. If you can rattle off that number, we can put it in the chat
Yeah.
so that people can get that.
Yeah, so it's 1-877-717 PTSD or 7873. And if you're local, you can call me at 602-668-0034. Again, if it's not you, but you have a friend, a brother, a sister, a family member that's hurting, just reach out and we'll see what we can do to help out.
Wait, I don't know if that went. Sometimes it lags, but I'll see if it populates. Yes, it populated. I don't know if that looks correct, but I think it is. And then I'll post your number here in a second. So, let's see. What else do I want to talk to you about? Okay. And then it's 668-0034, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. 034.
That's my local number, so people can get a hold of me. I always tell everybody my business hours are from 8 to 8. If it's an emergency, then it's 24 hours. So my phone will always be answered. Like I said, I have a great team. My wife does our family support, so anybody can call, and if they're interested in getting the family support, and I have a great veteran coordinator and other volunteers that help out around the valley. So.
And when exactly are your warrior groups? And because these are specifically for combat veterans, when somebody comes to you, this is a loaded question and you can answer it in any amount of parts you want to. When somebody comes to you and they have no combat experience, they may have PTSD, a military sexual trauma, something like that. I know, Adam, you don't turn them away, right? I absolutely know that. So what is the procedure?
So when someone calls, that's part of the vetting thing. If they're combat, we invite them to our support groups. If they're not, or if they suffer from, like you said, MST, we still do one-on-one mentoring throughout the week with those individuals, but we also reach out to other organizations
Right.
that's their wheelhouse. We are working on right now. Well, before the pandemic, we started an MST support group in Mesa, but the pandemic hit, so we're hopefully getting that started back up again shortly. But right now, and like everything right now is on Zoom because of the COVID. But right now, our warrior groups are on Mondays at 6:30 to 8, and Tuesdays from 6:30 to 8. Our family group is on Tuesday from 6:30 to 8 and Friday from 6:30 to 8. And we'll add as we go, and as the pandemic lifts, we'll continue to do to Zoom. We really like in-person meetings, and it just depends where we go. We were meeting Thursdays at Valor's on 8 in their conference rooms. We're working with 511 Tactical, and they allow us in their stores on Mondays to run groups and stuff like that. So once this list, we'll start doing that again. But we're going to keep Zoom up no matter what, because the one thing that's amazing about technology is, yes, we're in Arizona, but I have members from Washington and Tennessee that join us on Zoom, because they've become part of the family and they don't want to go to anywhere else. So, we're going to continue doing Zoom throughout this whole pandemic and after the pandemic, so we can try to reach out to as many people as possible and just let them know that they're not alone.
No, we've found the same thing. We found that we're able to reach a larger audience. People are able to hang out with us, especially on the Thrive Tribe. We're able to reach all the way back to the East Coast, and it's been healing for people, especially when we do this. It's very educational. And then tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., when people come in for emotional freedom technique and the tapping sessions and things like that, it's been very beneficial for us and for the community. So I definitely agree with you. What do you think the biggest issue is right now with our community? You said that you realized at a point that you were hurting. You had post-traumatic stress disorder. I agree with you. Like you said, there's a lot of people that say you can get cured, you can heal. It's an ongoing battle for post-traumatic stress. What do you think right now, COVID, whatever it is, the isolation, what is plaguing our community as veterans? What do you see?
It's been ongoing. I mean, before the pandemic and continued, I think the biggest issue is getting to a point and being okay with asking for help, for one. Because we're so trained in the military that if you ask for help, it's considered weak, and it's not till others realize like it takes so much strength to actually, ask for help and want it. So we deal with that a lot where, people just aren't ready yet, or they're just not willing to reach out and, get help. But with this pandemic, it's definitely the isolation. Um, we are social creatures, um, especially with veterans. We want to be around other veterans and like-minded people, and it's crazy. We we like to isolate on our own, but being told by the government to isolate, if I think you said it best before, it's like telling a kid not to push this button. They're going to want to push it, and our veterans are struggling right now because they can't go places, they can't meet in the groups that they need to, or they can't just walk into the VA anymore right now, and things like that when they need help. So we're having a lot of guys that are just starting to struggle with alcohol who have been sober for 6+ months, because they're stuck in their house and they don't see any other way than to go let time go by than drink or do drugs. So yeah, I'm hoping this pandemic's over, but I also want to let people know, like you said, just because we're isolated and we're stuck in our houses and things like that doesn't mean you need to be alone. We have groups twice a week. There's other Zoom groups. There's other things. There's still like, Valor's veteran community. We meet with them every Saturday in Tempe, and we all ride bikes, around the lake, and stuff like that. So there's still things going on. So I just asked everybody, if you're struggling and you're isolating, there are things to do with others that are out there still. We are still gathering in different ways and doing outdoor activities and things like that. So just got to reach out.
Yep. Well, it's all about falling in before you falling out, or as we like to say at Shockwave, checking in before you check out. Adam, I cannot begin to express how grateful I am that you came on to show the solidarity and the unity within the veteran community. You were the first one that I thought of to have on the Thrive Tribe, because you and your wife Desiree are just two amazing individuals, and everything that you do for the Arizona veteran community is just, I mean, it's amazing. There's no words for it, really. There really is no words for it. And
thank you very much.
You're just two beautiful people as well. You guys are just beautiful souls.
Well, thank you. I couldn't do it without her. I know that. She's my rock. So
That's right.
She keeps me grounded.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you thinking of us as your first guests, and I would definitely be following everybody that comes on from now on. And anything anybody you guys need, or we're here for you too. So
and exactly, and that's how it should be. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you, Desiree. We hear you back there.
She says thank you.
Tell her I'll come and talk about family group on my own next week.
Yeah, and she said anytime you want to talk with her about family group and family support, she'll come on anytime. So
it's a date. I love it.
Right.
I love it. Well, thank you, Thrive Tribe. We will see you next week. And don't forget, tomorrow at 9 a.m., as always, there's an emotional freedom technique tapping session, and we'll see you then. So please Be safe, because you are bold, beautiful badasses, and we love you very much. Have a good night.